After almost 10 years since the last big Vietnam game, we're finally getting a new one, and it's going to be in the style of Hell Let Loose. Yes, the World War II game that took over PC and consoles is apparently becoming a fully fledged multi-title series, and the next installment will be Vietnam. The trailer for this dropped out of nowhere, and it's incredible. Huey's flying in formation, PBR boats in the rivers, Charlie in the trees, and a jungle that actually looks like a jungle. Everything about this looks incredible, so today we're not only going to break down the trailer, but we're also going to take a look at some of the smaller details the devs have included on the Steam store page, because I have one word for you: tunnels. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's just get into it. The trailer opens with the year 1965, which does give us a good benchmark on what to expect in terms of equipment. The M16 had just entered service, and unlike the 30-round variants you might be familiar with in modern games, this one is a 20-round mag, and it could fire both semi and full auto, no burst fire. The Americans still had the M14 as the standard issue for all infantry up until the late 60s, and there was also a marksman variant, the M21 Sniper, which we can see here with the Scout Sniper team, and that one has a long-range optic. However, in the battle sequence, I did notice that one of the soldiers did have the M203 underbarrel grenade launcher equipped. This didn't enter service until 1969, and instead you'd more commonly see the M79 Thumper as a standalone grenade launcher. There was something called the XM148, which only lasted about a year in combat and was eventually replaced by the M203, and that could have been interesting to see, but either way, I do think it's a bit odd here to see the M203 at all, since the Thumper is such an iconic weapon, and we even do see it in the last sequence of the trailer. Either way, what I'm trying to say is that despite the 1965 in the intro, I don't think we have to be worried that we're going to be stuck with the 1965 equipment. Based on the trailer alone, I think we should expect to see weapons from the entirety of the Vietnam War. Now, of course, we're going to be getting the M60 machine gun, which we can see being infantry carried or used on the helicopters or boats, and speaking of these boats, these things are so cool. The twin 50 cals on the front of these PBRs are going to be so much fun to shoot, and we can see the side-mounted M60s as well. Probably could fit a whole squad on this, and I would really like to see if you can actually walk up and down the deck, or if you just have to kind of enter a slot and then you're just along for the ride. Also, are we going to be able to shoot out of these things? Like, being able to sit and actually fire my M16 would make so much sense and be so cool. I cannot wait to get my hands on these things and just tear through the rivers of Vietnam. Now, unlike the large artillery pieces we have now in Hell Let Loose, Vietnam looks to give us the ability to use mortars. In the trailer, we see the Type 67 mortars being used by the NVA, and beside it, we also have an RPD light machine gun in addition to the AK-47s everywhere. The NVA will also have the SKS, and anti-tank players will be using the RPG-2. And it wouldn't be a Vietnam game unless we had napalm, and it looks like there will be some type of American commander call-in for a napalm strike. I haven't seen like a proper napalm strike in game for a while. They do have it in Arma 3, and nothing against Arma 3, but I just need the high fidelity that Hell Let Loose gives me, and oh my goodness, it looks so good in this trailer. I know it's a cinematic, but Hell Let Loose is a beautiful looking game. Now for vehicles, we see the Patton tank, one that's blown out, as well as one that's rolling through a village with some infantry nearby. And Hell Let Loose has some of the most immersive tank combat I have ever played, but I am curious how this is going to look in Vietnam. Tanks in Vietnam were kind of like bunker busting or even artillery pieces. There really wasn't a lot of tank-on-tank combat. Now obviously that wouldn't make for very fun gameplay, but these things weren't at all like what you had in World War II, where you had just lines of tanks fighting against other lines of tanks. It was a very different type of war, and the only real tank battle was during the Battle of Ben Het in 1969, where the NVA attacked using PT-76 tanks and BTR-50s. There really wasn't a whole bunch of things like Pattons fighting against lines of T-54s or whatever, but this is a game and we have to have fun in game, so I wouldn't be surprised if every map has a handful of both these light, medium, or heavy tanks. If I had to guess, I would say the NVA will be getting the PT-76, as well as a T-54 or T-55, some variant of that, and a variety of BTRs, while the Americans will obviously have the Patton, but maybe also the Walker Bulldog, since it is a light tank, and maybe something like the M67 Zippo, which was the flamethrower tank. This would fit thematically and would be really cool to see in addition to these other actual tanks and the M113 APCs. Now at the end of the trailer, where we see the sniper team being being snuck up on by the NVA, we see a bayonet that is equipped to his AK-47, so hopefully we can both attach and remove these things if we want to just get up close and personal. It is also important to note here that we have night maps, or at least maybe night layers. That is going to add a whole different dynamic to this game, and I'm not a big fan of night maps, but they have their place, and every once in a while it is so immersive and fun to just get into some night combat. At the end of the trailer, we also have a few items that you might have missed in this montage. We see what looks like a team setting up a heavy machine gun on a tripod. I thought it was the mortar at first, but doing it right in the open in combat seems a little ridiculous. And there's also this scene, which appears to be a Vietnamese flamethrower since it's attacking the backside of the Patton. This is a Type 74 flamethrower, and for whatever reason, the PLA is still using it today. So if you want to check out how this thing looks, feel free to get into the rabbit hole of YouTube. But it has a range of about 45 meters, and I've only really seen images or videos of users firing this thing laying prone. Now, I'm sure there's ways to use this standing or moving, and it is a game, so for in-game balance purposes, that would be kind of ridiculous if you had to always be laying down to use it. So I would assume we could move, but both the Americans and the Vietnamese look to have some type of flamethrower kit. Now, that's all the big stuff from the trailer, but if we take a look at the Steam store page, we also get this still shot of an NVA soldier using a Mosin Nagant. This may be a choice for both riflemen as well as maybe the scout, since they have in recon teams scout and sniper in Hell Let Loose, and I would assume that the sniper would then have the Mosin Nagant with the optic. Overall, it's looking like a good mix of both familiar weapons and equipment with a few surprises, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty more since the devs state that we'll have 19 roles in game to choose from. You're going to have commander, officer, rifleman, assault, medic, support, machine gunner, anti-tank, engineer, spotter, sniper, tank commander, crewman, pilot, helicopter crewman, helicopter gunner, mortar spotter, mortar support, and mortar gunner. This is an awesome collection and one of my favorite parts of Hell Let Loose, just the kit variety and how players can really just focus in and specialize in what they want to do in game. Switching gears to the NVA, however, we have something that took me by complete surprise, and that's the tunnels. Yes, we'll be getting an actual shovel simulator in game with player-built tunnels. Now, I've been fortunate enough to actually visit the Coochie tunnels in Vietnam, and I'll just say it's wild that these things were even a part of the war. I have no idea how the devs are going to balance this in game, since it would be cool to have pretty much a sandbox to dig and excavate and design your own tunnels, maybe even have tunnel systems with headquarters, the ammo rooms where you can set up, all that type of stuff, but I just think how painful that would be to try and fight against that as the Americans. Could be wander around objectives and the entire Vietnamese team is just underground in tunnels. I think as long as you can't capture objectives from these tunnels, it should be fun. But if anything, this will be a completely unique gameplay style, and I'm all for it. In saying that, the devs have also said what types of game modes to expect, and we'll be getting 6 different game modes. We get the usual warfare, tug of war, and the offensive, attack and defense, but there's also going to be 4 alternative game modes, as they call it, and I'm wondering if we're going to get something a little bit like Conquest, where you just bounce around any of the points in any order, or maybe the King of the Hill game mode, like what you currently have with Skirmish. In Hell Let Loose Skirmish, there's just one neutral point and teams have to fight over it, with the winner being whoever has control of the point at the end. Now, I'm not a huge fan of just whoever has it at the end of 30 minutes wins. I wish there was some type of point or score attributed to it, but either way, more ways to play in Vietnam should be super fun. It's also confirmed that we're going to be getting 6 maps on launch, which is the same we got for the original game, and since this game is confirmed to be 100 players, 50 on 50, these things should be huge. I am super excited that we're not only going to have immersive jungle maps, but the devs explicitly state that we are going to be having better movement. We're going to actually be able to move around these maps like real people. Now, personally, I like the combat and I think the visuals of Hell Let Loose are incredible, but I've really disliked the player movement since the game first came out. It just feels a little too stiff, not as fluid as it really could be, and here, I am happy to say that the devs state there will be enhanced player movement. They say they will have swimming, climbing, fast crawling, and interactions such as dragging co-combatants away from the active fire to give them a chance to heal and re-engage. Player dragging has been awesome in Squad, and it really adds to the immersion. Climbing and swimming will be great to take full advantage of the maps, and I just love that they're really going to make sure rivers are fun and interactive parts of the game. I think if we had the same player locomotion that we had in current Hell Let Loose in Vietnam, it would be a little disappointing, so this is just awesome to see. And finally, I really like that the devs have included this. There will be a revamped tutorial and player onboarding process. So for those of y'all that play these games, you know that the new player experience is rough. Personally, I'm not even opposed with players being forced into a 5 or 10 minute tutorial if they're brand new to the game. Spending 10 minutes to learn the mechanics of teamwork, the objectives, how to move around and use your kit will make for much better games, and I'm really hoping this helps with the learning curve. But that's about everything we now know of Hell Let Loose Vietnam, and we haven't even talked about or seen video of things that we know is going to be included, like gore. Hell Let Loose is an extremely gory game with body parts flying everywhere, and I think that's going to be absolutely crazy to see in Vietnam, and then also throw in the napalm. It's going to look chaotic. Hell Let Loose Vietnam is releasing in 2026, and I know I'm not the only one excited to get back into a jungle that feels like a jungle, especially since it's been so long since Rising Storm 2 and the OG Battlefield Vietnam. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Are you excited? Is there anything you'd like to see included that maybe they've missed or not talked about? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.